So man, I'm super excited about this session, Gabe.
Go for it. Do our
Dale trained my team for 4 months, along with his sales team. Dale, come on up, and just super excited to have you dive in.
Get in the middle. We're gonna sandwich you.
Right in the middle.
Get in the middle.
A Dale sandwich.
So Dale runs Smart Sales Coaching. It's actually a widget inside of Follow Up Boss, or not really a widget, but there's a link inside for Conversion U.
Yeah, so Conversion University is a 9-module video training course inside Follow Up Boss. So anybody here that's a Follow Up Boss user, you already have access to it.
Yeah.
So let me get a woo from anybody that's already using Conversion U for onboarding your agents and training. There we go. There's 2 people. So all the rest of you, I know a lot of people are using it. All the rest of you use it for onboarding your agents. It's like I said, it's a 9-module video training course. Runs through really how to access the database, how to have conversations with people, and it just takes it beyond scripting, right? Takes it beyond basic scripting. So
yeah,
and then we do live training, and Follow Up Boss users, Ylopo users, get a discount doing live training with our trainers.
Well, and there's a lot of voices in the lead conversion space, a lot of trainers, a lot of experts. What I really like about Dale and my personal experience is I always come away with a few phrases that I can immediately go back to my sales team and say, you guys have to use this phrase when this scenario comes up. And it works like 90% of the time, which is just phenomenal. So let's get right into it. Can
I tee up one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Guys, there is a lot of scripts and nuggets in this session. There's another one, there's gonna be a lot of photos, so please be ready because we got a lot of content to go through, but there's literally scripts in here, 2 responses that you're seeing in Follow Up Boss and Ylopo daily, so.
Yeah, so when Barry and Gabe asked me to do this, we wanted to put together some slides that would give you guys stuff that you could just use right off the shelf. They said, give me a lot of snap-worthy moments in here, right? Like, screenshot.
I said give me snaps is what I said.
Snaps.
All right.
Snap it. Kim,
Come on, that was fun.
Can I get a focus on these shoes over here? Have you guys seen this? Get a camera on that.
Pretty amazing.
Those are gorgeous.
We got better
That's snap-worthy right there. So here's what I want you to do. You can see that there's a URL. I want you to go ahead and download the slides, follow along, because I don't know whether you're going to be able to read this on the screens or not. There's going to be a lot of copy on there. We're not going to read all the copy. Really what I want to do is I want to talk with you about what you should be teaching your agents in terms of their activity level and how to go after and try to get these conversations and move them from text onto an actual phone call, onto a Zoom, and then face-to-face. Then we're gonna go through some basic objection handlers that you can use, whether it's texting, right? Whether it's written or whether it's spoken. And then most importantly, what I wanna go into is that right now, what a lot of agents are struggling with, anybody can set a listing appointment with somebody who's ready to meet with an agent, right? Anybody can show a home to a buyer that's ready to go and look at homes. Where the real opportunity is getting that face-to-face or video-to-video with those sellers who don't think they're ready yet, or with those buyers who don't think they're ready yet. And so at the end of this, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna run through how we help agents reposition what a quote listing appointment is, or what a face-to-face with a buyer is. So you're gonna wanna grab all those slides because you can take these back and teach them to your agents. So grab that URL, smartsalescoaching.com, Ylopo23, and you can follow along. I'll put that back up on here once we get into these, when I get down to the bottom.
Yeah, so these first 3 or 4 slides are really designed, I'm just gonna summarize all 3 so you can get through them quickly. My team converts about 1.9, 1.97, so about double the average of Ylopo leads, because we've learned to monetize the prospect that starts the conversation with something like, I'm not really serious, I'm waiting a year. So that is not a bad lead for us. That is someone we've defined that just doesn't know what they want yet. And so everything about how we talk to that person is about coming from curiosity, not overcoming objections, understanding objections to empower prospects so that we're not waiting a year. We don't wait a year for them to figure it out on their own. When people ask me how long does it take to close a Ylopo lead, I say it depends. Are you gonna wait for them to figure it out on their own? Are you gonna say something like, I'll call you in a year when you're ready, do you mind if I email you? Or are you gonna say things like, and I learned this from Dale's training. How did you decide you're waiting a year? Well, I don't know. Sounds like you don't know what you're doing yet. We need to meet to help you come up with a plan. When you take a proactive approach with these middle of funnel, not quite sure they need an agent yet, don't have a home picked out, when you aggressively and passionately teach the consumer and fill in the gaps, it's not a 12-month nurture. It's a 3 to 4 month process because they want the home and you're aggressively solving the problems. So we can so inquiries, Gabe, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the hand raisers and the different things that we see?
Yeah, I think we've gone through, we're adding to it. And I think, if you didn't catch it in G's session, a big focus has been so that we can use more of the scripts that Dale's going to go over, are creating more hand raiser inquiry, I need, and question answered opportunities through the site, through what we're asking, through AI, and all of that. So we're going to be adding these as we go. So from HomeBot Engage to Gave New Number to Hand Raiser, Rate Requested, and all of those. So we'll be going through and giving you scripts in here, but be keeping an eye out and adding them to your smart lists.
So yeah, there's inquiries, show me a house, and then there's important behaviors. I think for a lot of you, you're really good on the inquiries, showing requested, listing appointment requested. Where you really haven't monetized is just passive website activity. John looked at the same home 5 times. And guys, this is a cash cow for your business. Nobody else in your market knows how to talk to these people. When you master what Dale is about to teach, I guarantee you, you will make more money when you focus on people that are coming back to the website after 30 days of being silent, looking at the same home 5 times, sharing a home with their friend. These are really important behaviors. Zillow knows this. Realtor.com knows this. And they are happy to give you their leads at a referral fee of 30 to 40%. And I'm not bashing them. I wish I came up with the idea. But I want you to understand that for you all, you have the ability to compete with the Goliaths now when you learn to monetize this website activity. Let's get to it, Dale.
Got it. Yep, lead discovery, right? So helping a lead discover what they want moves them through the funnel. And the next one that we're going to go to here actually is, there we go, getting more contacts, right? How do we get more of these contacts? And this is something I want to teach you guys real quick. Shockingly, this is something we teach all the time. We teach to every salesperson, ISA, it doesn't matter. And that's call, text, email, or these days, even text, call, and then email. And this is just an aggressive pattern that you need to use. And I like to call it ex-girlfriending or ex-boyfriending somebody, right? Crazy ex-girlfriend, crazy ex-boyfriend. If I want to get in touch with you, I'm going to try to call you, and then I'm going to text you. And if you're my wife, then I'm going to DM you if I really need to get in touch with you, because we don't email each other. But turning it around saying, hey, I want to get in touch with this person. When you make an outreach, do all 3 of these methods. It's 3 methods at a time when you're trying to get in touch with someone. And what's crazy is, like, even one of my salespeople with my company, she's like, hey, Dale, what do I do about this lead? I've been hounding them. I go and I look into the system, and I'm like, all you did was send emails. What do you mean you're hounding them? My kids bug me more when they want to eat like sugar for breakfast or something, or they want to be dropped off at their friend's house. You didn't hound these people. Go after it. Like, make the call. You hang up. We don't actually leave voicemails. You call, you hang up, you text, and then you back it up with an email, and you reference the fact that in the text, reference the fact that you called. When you email, reference the fact that you just called and texted them. It's this kind of pattern. When you're really trying to make these contacts, you need to get it done. What I see a lot of times is salespeople will just send an email, or they'll just call and they won't text. Another thing that I tell salespeople is never make a phone call that you're not willing to back up with a text.
Love that.
It needs to just go hand in hand.
Well, what if somebody here doesn't do this because they're worried they're bothering the prospect? What would you say?
You're in sales. Yeah. So yes, you're going to be bothering these strangers, but that's what your job is.
Okay.
So, and just to clarify, this pattern, the 3, we're not talking over the course throughout the day.
No.
Okay, making sure.
Yeah. So I look at my lead. I have Gabe. I'm going to call Gabe. Gabe doesn't answer. I hang up. I text Gabe. Hey, Gabe, just gave you a call. Just wanted to whatever it is that I'm trying to do, or wherever they're at in the funnel. And then I'm also going to shoot him an email. Hey, Gabe, just tried to call, and here's my message, right? That is one attempt on a lead. Now, I may, depending on the urgency of the lead, if it's, we're going to talk about hand raisers, people that take activity. If it's somebody who's taking activity or asking for something, I'm going to hit him up again later that day, twice in a day.
Got it.
And if you can teach your salespeople to do this and then follow along behind them and see if they're actually doing it and then tell them to do it again because you find that they weren't, which happens all the time. Once you can get that kind of pattern of behavior ingrained in them, their number of contacts, their voice to voice, or their answers that they get on text message or email or whatever it is really going to improve drastically. And that's the name of the game these days. It's so hard to get in contact with someone. It's hard to get them to break that ice and remove the anonymity, right, and talk to you. So if you can teach this to your people, that will increase their contacts exponentially. Now, the reason that I said alternate between calling first and then texting is because we do a lot of times find that if you are calling and then texting and you go through that pattern and people aren't answering you, switch it up and text first. And you'll see in here some suggestions once we get to the hand raiser type things where it's, hey, I'm gonna text you first, hey, I'm gonna be calling you, right? And then you wait and see if they respond and then you call them anyway, whether or not they respond. That has a tendency to also help you break the ice. So if you teach your agents to alternate between the two, it's really effective.
We have a question up here, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Over here. Yeah.
Hi guys, Kristen from Tucson. So we've been talking a lot about texting first, and what we are experiencing and what a lot of people that we've been talking to is that when you text first and then you call, the algorithm in the phone call won't mark you as a potential spam because you've already connected in a text and your phone number is now in their phone. And so if you text first, we're having a lot better response than calling. So we'll text, call, email, and I'm just curious if anyone else in the room is doing that and having good experience with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works.
We're definitely using a lot of that, but I think getting to it is still alternating it, right? I think that the point of that is you can get it in there first, so it might be Barry calling or it might be Dale calling, but then changing it up every time so it's not a pattern, I think is what you're getting.
Yeah, I'm approaching it from a human behavior perspective, right? Where typically I'm going to start with calls and then texts. Obviously, unless somebody has already texted me. One of the things that we follow is always respond to a lead. If they're inquiring to you, always respond to them in the method that they first outreached, right? If they called, call them back. If they text them back. If they email them back. Then once you go into your follow-up patterns, then we follow a call, text, email. If I do that a couple of times to you, twice, and I'm not getting anything, now I'm going to switch to text, call, email. I'm going to switch it up. So that's where this comes from, is really the human behavior part and trying to mix it up, as some of the other speakers were saying.
Got it.
Good. Okay, so here's an example of intensity, right? When you're gonna, respond to these people, let's say it's a showing request, like they want to see something, right? Yes, happy to book an appointment for you. The seller has requested I verify all requests. Can you chat for 2 minutes now? You're always trying to get people onto a call. What we generally do is not try to close them via text or close them via email. I can get so much more out of a phone conversation with somebody or a video to video conversation. So that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to push them onto that call. And in this case, all the time, think about this. A lead is always thinking, why would I want to have a conversation with you? What am I going to get out of this? And this one's a really easy, obvious one. They have to talk with me in order to confirm the appointment because it has nothing to do with me, has to do with the seller who can not let you see it, right? So that's what they're getting out of it. Then you can see here, wait for 2 minutes and text them, I'm calling from X number, right? So now we're just taking the initiative and making that call. If they don't answer, you're going to text them again, I just called you on this number, did you see it? Or some variation like that, right? Then you wait another 5 minutes. Now I'm going to say, all right, I'm trying to engage you via text or email because I didn't get you on that phone call, and I'm going to see what time I can talk to them, and then I'm going to hit them up again the same day. So this is just an example of an intensive pattern that you want to teach your agents to follow. And if you don't actively work with your salespeople on how to follow patterns like this, I guarantee you they're not doing it. As you all know, right?
And how quick are you getting to this, yes, happy to book an appointment for you, from that inquiry, from that hand raiser?
Well, I mean, ideally, we're doing it as soon as that comes in,
Right.
as fast as you can, right?
We have to.
You have to, because if they don't get it from you, they're going to ask somebody else.
Yeah.
They have this thing called the internet where they can look up the houses. Yeah.
They're going somewhere else. And we're joking about it, but guys, a lot of us in the training team, we jump into the accounts, and because we're not leveraging the smart list or we're not organizing the notification numbers from Ylopo on our phones, we are for some reason thinking we have, I mean, sometimes it's days, but on average it's hours to respond to these, and we don't. They're going to go somewhere else. You can be intense because they want something answered.
Yeah. Let's go to another pattern here. We'll go to a rate request, for instance, right? So this is somebody who wants to know what their interest rate would be or is interested in getting a quote. You'll see in the asterisks here, and if you download the slides, you can read it, have a lender who can be available for conference calls on short notice. So a lot of the teams that we work with find the best scenario or the most productivity in terms of getting, those lenders that are spending money on your leads and your marketing tools. Those lenders are much more happy if they can get a live transfer or even a conference call. So if you have a lender partner, ideally talk to them and see if they have somebody who can be available for a conference call right away. And basically we just kind of call it the cocktail party setup, where it's like if I'm talking to Barry, right, I'm talking to a lead. Oh, Barry, that's great, man. Listen, I have an amazing lender. Hey, hold on a second. I'm going to see if he's available so that I can introduce you. And I just put Barry on hold, and I call up my lender. Hey, I got this guy, Barry. He's got a ton of money. He really wants to buy something right away, right? He's good to go. Can we get on a call with him? And then I just patch him in with Barry, introduce Barry to my lender, and let them go from there.
This actually works. And you might think that it's like, wow, that's pretty aggressive, but it actually works surprisingly well. Because you're assuming the consumer wants what they asked for. That's why it works so well. You're just making an assumption.
Yeah, and you notice I didn't give him a choice. I didn't say, hey, Barry, would you like to talk to a mortgage person right now on the phone and have them ask you all sorts of financial questions? The answer to that is no.
Well, and what most people are doing is, hey, I'm calling to give my lender's number to you so you can call them. And that's a surefire way, like 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work.
Right.
I'm going to add one in here. We're testing this a lot in Texas right now on one of these text replies. And again, this the requested rate tag where they're actually going to a button, right? This is not just when they register, but it's on the property detail page. You're all going to have this in the coming weeks. We're following up one of these. Doesn't matter which one, and we're curious, are you looking to purchase or refinance? We all know nobody's refinancing right now. All right, we know that. Guys, it is insane. We're getting 20, 30 of these almost a day with these lending leads that we're talking to that are responding, purchase. It's keeping the conversation going. So on one of these, a little nugget, wanted to verify when we're handing that off or whatever, are you looking to purchase or refinance? You're speaking their language, why they came in. We pretty much know what they're going to respond, and it gets the conversation going.
Great. And you'll see, when we were talking about what's the lead going to get out of talking to me, you can see, if you can read that paragraph. I don't know if can you guys read that from where you're at? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I see some heads going up and down. Great. What you'll notice is that we have some of the most competitive rates. Just need to ask a few questions to find out which level you qualify for. That's what they're getting out of it. They might pay less. They might get a better rate, but they don't know unless they talk to us. So when I go through the objection handler stuff, we're not going to go through the exact copy, but you guys can download this stuff. And I just want to talk about the principles so that you can go back and you can teach your salespeople how to craft messaging on the fly. And a big part of it is, what is this person going to get out of it, right? Because if I said, oh, hey, I can give you a rate, can you talk now? What are they getting out of it? I haven't told them what they're getting out of it. And I'm a big, bad, scary salesperson that nobody wants to talk to, right? Especially when it's stranger business. Nobody wants to talk to a salesperson until they need one, right?
Stranger business, I like that.
Yeah, so if you follow this again, it's the same pattern, right? You wait 2 minutes, you're gonna text, hey, I'm calling from this number if you don't get a response. NA just called you, right? You get the idea here. And you can do this for any type of lead or prospect that's taken an action and wants something.
And rate request is a new feature on the Ylopo site. You'll start to see that. Increase engagement.
All right, so getting more opportunities. Moving on to when you see engagement going on, right? So these are I wrote a bunch of these, ran through these, and CTE just stands for call, text, email.
Okay.
So you follow this pattern, right? I see your home valuation says it may be worth more. I see your home valuation says it may be worth more than the system gave you, but I just have a few questions about your home to clarify first. Are you free to talk for 2 minutes now? Again, it's following the principle, what are they going to get out of it, right? With the next one, back to site after 30 days. The concept behind these is if somebody's taking an action, reference whatever action they took, and also look at how much engagement have they already had with you, or have they not had any engagement with you at all, or has it been a long time? So when you're messaging strangers, right, that you don't have a relationship with and aren't referrals, you always start with what are they getting out of it? What relationship do we already have, or do we not? And are they likely to remember who I am or my interaction? So that really influences what you're saying to them or how you're approaching them.
Love it. I mean, we're seeing this all the time too, right? And I think a lot of people, and even on our own team, is going unresponded to. They're returned after X days or coming back, and it's an opportunity to ask a question.
Yeah.
And most teams are annoyed by this alert. When you talk to them, they're like, "Oh my gosh, John came back, 30 days. Like, who cares?" This is where this is where the money is, guys. It's really important that you learn to capitalize on it.
What you do is you just program this stuff in as templates, and then you teach your team, hey, if it's this alert, you fire this template. If it's that alert, you fire this template. It's a no-brainer. And honestly, they can just roll through, make a calling list, roll through the calls for certain types of alerts, right, based on activity, and then they just have a template text and a template email they can fire out. So they do 30 dials, and then they can just roll through and blast out the templates. If you can make it a process, it makes it much more likely that they're going to do that. So we've got one here, favoriting a home, visiting same home for more than 5 times, right?
I haven't seen that one in person yet. Would you like to go with me?
Yeah,
that's good.
So I just want to show it to them, and you can take this one and you can modify these templates. You can make 3 or 4 different versions of these so that you're not always sending the same message, and you mix it up, right? So if somebody favorites a home, I send this one the first time, they don't answer. A couple of weeks later, they favorite another couple of homes. I just have a variation of the same thing and shoot it out to them to see if I can interact with them.
Are you putting any merge fields on these? I'm just curious now. I'm just going to get greedy and ask my own questions. Any merge fields in here as far as what they favorited or links to the site? Are you keeping it simple or seeing a difference?
Yeah, where you see name and address, those would be merge fields.
Those are merge fields. Perfect.
Yeah.
And
So you guys make sure you're using those merge fields in there. It's automatic for you.
And if you have templates you want your agents to use, like what Dale is saying, what I do is I put a special character first in front of the name of the template, so that when they click templates in Follow Up Boss, the ones with like a star or a hashtag in front of it actually show up first.
We're good. We're about 20.
20. Okay, great. All right, let's move on to, I want to roll through some of the objection handlers,
19.
and I just want to talk to you guys about how this goes. So we've written this stuff out. In some cases, text and spoken are similar, right? So text is obvious, it's a written response, versus spoken, which is something that you would actually say to someone if you get them on the phone. In some cases, they're the same things, like you see here with just browsing, and in some other cases, we make them a little bit different. And I just want you to understand how the psychology works there. For instance, just browsing, great, do you currently live in area, wherever your area is or neighborhood is, or are you thinking of moving here, right? This is a present tense question. So I don't know if you guys have ever thought about present tense, past tense, or future tense. A lot of times when you're talking to leads, you're oftentimes asking them questions in the future tense, right? What do you want to buy? When do you want to sell? When do you want to get moved? Where do you want to go to? What are you looking to purchase? Those are future tense questions, which suggest that they already have plans and that they know what they're going to be doing, right? You would need to do that for future tense. When you're talking to leads that have spotty plans or aren't ready or are doing something out in the future, the more future tense questions you ask them, the more annoyed they become with you as a salesperson because they don't have those answers. Do you understand what I'm saying?
My mind's blowing a little bit right now, actually. I was here just thinking a lot of that about.
Yeah.
That's a nugget. I'd be starring that, underlining that big time. I'm thinking about a lot of my templates right now.
Maybe those that weren't listening.
Yeah.
Sure. Future tense questions. Out in the future, what will you be buying? Where will you be moving? What size house do you want? How big of a yard do you want, right? Pool or no pool? Those are future tense questions. That means I need to have answers for those things. I need to have plans for those things. And if I'm a nurture in the system, if I'm a 6 months out, 13 months out, I'm not going to have a lot of future tense answers for you. Okay? So when we talk about don't be such a salesperson, salespeople ask all future tense questions. And think about it this way. If I want to objection handle you, let's say I did a lot of expired listings back in the day, right? FSBO's expired, the whole thing. And so one of the biggest turnoffs to an expired is if I say, hey, Barry, your house didn't sell. You want to sell it? Barry says, nope, don't want to sell it. And I say, oh, got it. Well, what changed your mind, Barry? Barry's like, oh, God, this guy wants to change my mind. He just wants to use whatever happened against me. That's a past tense question, right? So be aware of that stuff. If I'm a salesperson and you've decided against doing something and I try to drag you either into the future, which you're not planning on and don't have plans for, that's a tell. If I try to drag you back into the past to get you to rehash things, you immediately recognize I'm trying to use it against you. Okay? Those are two big tells. Now, what do? This one that you see here, very simple, but this is why I want you to understand the psychology behind it so you can teach your salespeople this so they can make better messaging and say better things. In this one here, somebody says, oh, I'm just browsing. This is a present tense question. Great, do you currently live here or are you thinking of moving here, right? Or are you relocating? A lot of times is what you do. That's present tense. Where are you now? Who are you now? Anybody can answer present tense questions. It's a lot less sales oriented.
Yeah,
Good?
I found higher up the funnel past tense questions, like what do you want to change about where you live right now? They work really well because it gives people a frame of reference that they're comfortable with. They know their past.
Good. Okay, are we good with that?
Yep.
Past, present, future tense. Good. So looking to rent here, you see that we've broken them up. So text, I might text you, what's important about renting rather than buying, right? Via text. Now spoken, I'm just gonna get rid of rather than buying. Here's the psychology of why. I could have just texted, got it, what's important about renting, question mark. With the text message, I need it to be a little bit longer. I need it to be a little bit more engaging. With spoken is a much higher intensity interaction that I'm having with somebody. And I'm a what? What do I do for a living, everybody? What do you do for a living?
Salesperson.
Salesperson, right? And what does a salesperson do? Sell. But a salesperson wants to change your mind and get you to do things, right? They're manipulative. So when I'm speaking to somebody, I'm gonna just ask, got it, what's important about renting? And I'm gonna get rid of rather than buying. Because rather than buying suggests I want you to change your mind and buy something, right? So I can just omit that. And it has a tendency to take down that sales intensity when it's spoken. But when it's written via text, it's not as intense, and I can flesh out my messaging a little bit more. Good? Okay, excellent. So here we got, how much am I qualified for? Again, text and spoken. I'm just gonna power through some of these because I wanna get to getting you guys face-to-face with sellers and getting you face-to-face with future buyers. So you can see, no longer looking to buy a house, not right now on hold. We got messaging for all of that stuff. Spring, summertime. As Barry said, one of the things that his team has learned from our training is how did you decide on spring, summer, right?
That works so well.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a pure discovery question. I'm not manipulating or leading in any way, and it gets people to tell you how they made the decision to do what they're doing. When you're doing your messaging, when you're teaching your agents how to have sales conversations, we do this thing called the question game. Everybody loves the question game. Basically, we teach salespeople how to ask the most direct question that goes to the core of how a lead made the decision to not buy or not sell or not with you or not now or whatever it is. That's the psychology that you want to teach your salespeople. Ask the most direct question you can to get to that core, because all I really care about is how did you decide that buying in spring or summer or selling in spring or summer made the most sense for you, so I can figure out if I can come up with a mutually beneficial way of getting you what you want, but doing it sooner or doing it with me. Love it. All right, prices are too high right now. What else do we have on here? Okay, that covers, we just ran through a bunch of objections.
You guys got
All
pictures, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Hopefully they downloaded the
Yes.
slides.
Yes, we got 13 minutes, 12 minutes probably.
We're gonna get it done. All right, so Raya, right? Go ahead, Barry. Tell them what you guys see a lot happening with Raya.
Yeah, so Raya engagement happens, and you guys call or text from your follow-up boss number or your personal cell. And it's kind of like when you call the cable company, you tell them this long story, you establish trust with the rep, and the rep says, okay, well, let me transfer you. And then the person answers and says, how can I help you? And you have to tell the whole story again, right? Well, believe it or not, they trust this robot we call Raya. They built rapport with her, and when you call and text from another number, you're doing what the cable company does. You're basically starting all over, and they don't trust you, they don't know you, and you're missing an opportunity to just segue from Raya and take over the conversation. Click the stars link, text the lead and say, Barry would like to meet with you sometime tomorrow. Are you free in the afternoon? They say yes at 1 o'clock. You say, great, he's gonna call you give your cell phone number. And now when you call tomorrow from the cell number that they gave you, you've segued and the relationship has been maintained.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love one of the points. Are you gonna go through all these or are we moving
Yeah,
on?
I'm gonna touch on a couple of them.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead first.
So, as Barry said, instead of you or your salespeople automatically switching out of Raya mode as though Raya is something else. Raya is you. You are Raya. They are Raya. It is a tag team effort. So you just take over seamlessly.
And don't take over and say, hey, this is Barry now. Because that's the same number. Let's say the number ends with 1111, and all this time, the number ending with 11111 has been Raya, and suddenly the number ending with 111 is Barry. That doesn't work. You gotta do the segue and give them your new number in the Raya conversation so they know to look for you.
Exactly. Yeah, so the messaging should be, I'm going to personally take over. I'm going to look at what that string is and just pretend that it was me saying that stuff and getting those answers. And then I'm going to seamlessly insert myself and take over as the bot. And now I'm controlling the direction. And the direction should typically be getting this person onto a phone call or getting them onto a video to video. And if you do it effectively, what you can do is you can use Raya, you can be Raya, get that permission for a phone call. If you don't get the permission for a phone call, then you, the agent, can actually make the call and then pretend that you're Raya again and say, oh, hey, my agent Barry, I think, reached out to you. They said that they didn't get you. When could we talk? So now you're really hitting it from both sides.
Is that the ghost?
I want to back up there a second because you dropped a nugget there, and I hope everybody writes this down. What is the mission?
The mission is to get them onto a phone call or a video.
Okay, the mission is not to let Raya continue to go to set the entire appointment for you and pull the listing and set up through showing time and write the contract and do all of that. Right? I mean, for real.
They're like, wait a minute, Dave, that is the goal. How do we do that? Where's that?
Yeah, we're working. Gee, where the hell was taking so long? Guys, the mission is to set up a conversation of some sort. We need to make sure we instill that in ourselves and in our team. All right, I just want to make sure that was not missed.
Yeah. And does anybody here find that weird? Is anybody like, no, I can't act as Raya and communicate with these people, or that's like deceitful? Does anybody have any kind of issues with that internally that you're willing to state openly in front of everybody else? Okay, just checking. We do stuff like this all the time, and my perspective is that if you think about it from the consumer's perspective, they do build rapport with whoever they're interacting with, and really all they want is a good experience. And so you're just trying to make it a little bit more seamless for them. And if you think of it this way, like I said, Raya is you. That messaging is intended to be the messaging that you would otherwise send if you had all the time in the world to be sending this messaging. So it's your messaging. It's just being done automatically for you. And then you get to kick in and take over. And then if you're a little more crafty, right, then you could, yes, question.
With the popularization of Chat GPT and other AI being more popularized in the general society now, do you think it's coming a time where Raya can actually say, hey, this is Ralph's bot, but I'm here to help you get an appointment with him? I mean, and really kind of flip that. Do you see that coming?
My personal opinion is that if a prospect already knows that they want to work with me or already has experience working with me, they're okay with that. But a lot of this is stranger business. These are people who don't know us, they have no rapport with us, and we are all very averse to spam. When's the last time you got what was very clearly an automated text message from an unknown salesperson that you welcomed?
Health insurance.
Yeah.
Shop your rates.
Yeah.
Nope.
Zero, right? That's very unattractive. What I was going to say is, if you get even more clever, what you can do is, I can take over for Raya. Now I'm speaking to the lead as Raya. I'm setting it up for myself, right? Now I come in, I make the call, I have the conversation, whatever it is. And later on, Raya Dale can come back and be like, oh, hey, you met with Dale. How was that? How did it go, right? Especially if you get weird feelings about a prospect that you're working with, a buyer, a seller, where you're like, man, we really didn't connect. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they think about me. You can use your Raya self to investigate that stuff, because they may not tell you whether or not they liked you, but they'll tell your assistant, Raya, whether or not they liked you.
Same thing, I was chatting with somebody yesterday going in, somebody you're talking to, you've maybe already taken over and then they've ghosted or something. They don't want to tell you. Go back to Raya. You don't have to wait for Raya to start up. Go back in there and send a message and get that conversation going to find out what's going on or not. All right.
Yeah, there have been many times where we were able to reassign a potential a buyer or seller because we had a sales staff team, and we were able to come to that lead and just ask them how things went. And they were willing to tell us that they didn't click with the agent or they didn't like something, and we were able to save that deal because we could reassign it to another agent. Okay, let's move on to seller stuff, getting more seller opportunities. Now, as I said, anybody can set a listing appointment with somebody who's ready to meet with a salesperson, right? Ready to meet with a listing agent. Where the opportunities are is getting face-to-face with people who aren't ready to meet with a salesperson. So when I'm teaching this, the first thing that you have to understand, I made that joke about I'm a salesperson, nobody wants to talk to a salesperson. You only want to talk to a salesperson when you're ready for a salesperson. That's how the consumers think. That's how you think, your consumers. When's the last time you went down to the local car lot and just hung out with the car salesman down there to bullshit with them, right? Never. You only go down there because you either want to look at cars or you're ready to buy a car. And unfortunately, you have to deal with a salesperson, right? That's how it works. So when you're talking to a potential seller and you want to get face-to-face with them, or your agents want to get face-to-face with them, it's hard to do unless they're ready to sell now or they're ready to sell in the very near future. You do sometimes get those weirdos that really want to do a lot of pre-planning, but otherwise it's really hard to get face-to-face with them. So what you have to do is you have to change the positioning of what that meeting means. And so we go through this training where first we want salespeople to understand you've got really kind of 4 levels of readiness. Right now, we already established that. You've got soon, right, where they're getting ready to sell. You've got later, not ready to sell now, which, that could be 6 months, 8 months from now, maybe even as far as a year. And then what we call takeaway, which is undecided and not ready to sell. And if you can teach your salespeople these 4 levels and give them good words to use so that they can soften what that appointment means, right? So you see, and now we've got very immediate language: meeting, selling, game plan, strategy, active buyers, competing offers. And when you guys download these slides, these keywords that you see here, we've actually baked into example dialogue that you could use for setting appointments. You see how soon starts to soften: take a look, advice, progress, preparation, positioning. And then later is even softer, right? Pre-planning, have time, when you're ready, do overtime at some point in the future. And then we go to the really tough one, which is undecided, which would be the takeaway. Am I missing? I'm missing a slide in between there. I'll just show it to you this way. You should, the slide was hidden here, but I'm gonna just read a quick example of takeaway. Takeaway are those people that are either going to be selling really far down the road or in fact are undecided whether they're going to sell something or not. And this is probably one of the most extreme examples of changing your language. So just listen to this real quick. Maybe selling really isn't the best decision for you. Who knows? I have these kind of conversations all the time with homeowners who may at some point need to decide which way to go. I take a look at their home, answer questions about the process, what would need to be done to it, and how much they're likely to get for it. I'm happy to do the same for you, even if a sale never happens at all, okay? So in the slides that you download, you'll see some keywords that this dialogue came from. And there's 2 principles going on in here. One is the takeaway principle, right? And you can hear it when you say things like, maybe selling really isn't the best decision, or may never happen at all. You guys understand that, right? It's the salesperson you trust is the one who tells you you can't buy, right? It's the salesperson you trust, the one that tells you they don't have something for you. Because you're all anticipating that salesperson to try to sell you something or get you to make a decision. So when you're talking to somebody that's very skittish like that, completely undecided, you just reverse the language. The other principle going on in here is using third-party perspective, right? Notice I said, I have these kind of conversations with homeowners who may at some point decide which way to go. I take a quick look at their home. So another great way to soften your sales language is put it into third-party perspective. So rather than me saying, Gabe, I would come to your house, take a look at your home, tell you what you need to do to get ready, I'm putting it into the perspective of other people. That lessens it even more. How much time do we have?
We're at time, actually. So if there's another one you want to screenshot of, we're going to get all the slides to everyone. We wanted to make sure we got through the seller stuff.
Okay.
Key takeaways, something from this, just so they can go to it. And Dale's going to be on later as well on the panel for questions as well at lunch. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd say key takeaway from this is work with your agents on their languaging and their intensity, and you will be shocked at how the contacts go up, their ability to have interactions, and their ability to convert and get more face-to-face appointments they didn't think they could get.
Yeah, and I would add to that this for most people is not intuitive, it's not natural. If you don't manage this with your people, they're not going to do it naturally. You actually have to be a part of them learning to talk to people differently, or it just won't work. They'll always use their instincts. So let's give Dale a round of applause. Did he do a great job?
Thank you.